new analysis from Zillow showing that more than half of American homes lost value over the last year. Phoenix, they say, is among the metros seeing widespread declines, even though most homeowners still hold more equity than they did before the pandemic surge. Steve, I think you and I have spoken on this before. You've got your place that you bought for $4 million. And then pandemic hits, it goes up to $13 million, I think was the last time. And then now it may have come down just a smidge.
I did buy in what was then North Scottsdale, Chris. It's now Central Scottsdale. So when I bought it 20 years ago, it was North Scottsdale off of Shea. And now that's nowhere near North anymore. So
now it's just a regular old neighborhood, isn't it? That's exactly right. Joining us in the studio right now is Trevor Halpern, CEO of Halpern Residential at EXP. And Trevor, can we make anything out of these numbers? Because one of the things that, as Steve was pointing out, us amateurs, we tend to maybe read more into it than what we should be reading into it. Is there something that we can garner from the idea that 87% of the homes have lost some value?
Yeah, when we look at that statistic and we see 87% have lost value, we're looking at it compared to when, right? When we had these little peaks, especially around COVID, when there was a flood into Phoenix, we did see values spike and peak. And so maybe some have lost some value since then. But if you look over the duration of ownership, buying on Shea when it was, North Scottsdale, you look at that for a 20-year hold, you are still sitting on a ton of equity. In that same time frame, I think you've gained 78% equity. So,
wow.
So even if we've seen a little statistical dip over the last year or 2 years, if you're a midterm or a long-term holder of real estate assets, you're way ahead, way ahead.
So, Trevor, one of the things that always concerns me, too, is that when we start looking at Zillow numbers, it's kind of like when I look at a Zestimate, and it tells me how much my home should be worth. That feels like an okay ballpark, but it's not exactly hard data. Are you seeing anything that's sort of backing up the Zillow assertions that everybody's losing value in their homes right now? Is there anything else that can support that?
Yeah, well, it's great that you point that out because as Zestimate, if you look at the user terms in Zillow, it basically says we're kind of throwing a dart at the board, right? And so if Zillow is using their own statistics to determine that we're losing value in our marketplace, I question it a little bit, especially when I dig in to our holy grail of data, which is the Cromford report that we get access to here in the greater Phoenix metropolitan area. And they say that both on an average sale price basis and median sale price basis, that we are up year over year on the median 1.1%.
Oh, so that's exactly the opposite of what
Zillow is saying.
Zillow.
Correct.
Trevor, what are you watching for as far as, we've been a place that has grown so dramatically over the past, I've lived in Phoenix for almost 40 years. And we look at the growth, the population growth, which has driven so much of what is going on here. Now we have a diversification of our industry, so we've got better business going on. But how much do you have to keep an eye on the influx of folks who are coming here and folks who might be saying, well, when I moved here 20 years ago, really affordable, still a lot more affordable than California, but maybe losing some affordability. Do you have to look at those migration numbers to figure out how your business is going to go and how real estate generally will?
Yeah, absolutely. So to keep our prices going up in the greater Phoenix metro area, I look at a handful of things. One is that business climate and the education climate, higher education. Can we feed these tech forward businesses with well-qualified people? And so when you look at the economics of Phoenix and of Arizona, as long as we remain a relatively somewhere in the middle kind of tax situation, business friendly, regulation stable, and we continue to bring people to the state, we are going to continue to see prices stay relatively level or go up in comparison to other areas of the country where they are not seeing that. Natural disasters, industry, regulation, taxation, all of those things are pushing people out. And when you push people out, demand goes down. When demand goes down and supply goes up, you see an inverse in pricing. Surely
there's got to be a cap to that at some point, though, right? There's a ceiling. I mean, not everyone can move to Arizona or else, it's going to get real crowded.
Well, and interestingly, what I've seen more recently is I've been in touch with a lot of people. I have several listings right now, active listings, and I'm talking to several other people who have decided, one, to move out of the state or move out of the country. I have some retirees moving to Mexico. Right. So for the first time in my 14 plus year career, I am seeing a good handful of people deciding to make the move out. Now, for every one of them that's moving out, like, for instance, the people who are moving to Mexico, an open house this weekend, every single person that came through the door is someone moving here from Alaska, from California, from Texas. right? So we see this churn. And in my business, my personal business, I make money on churn. So
Sure.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But I also like stability. And what we've seen this year, despite all the what you see in the Zillow reports and whatnot, is stability. We're seeing buyers and sellers having to work together. We're seeing a 1.1% median increase in price. Give me that all day. That means that there aren't these weird factors on either side that are potentially driving prices up or bottoming them out.
Trevor Halpern is the CEO of Halpern Residential at EXP, joining us right now. Based on what you just said, are we at a balanced? We always talk about a buyer's market or a seller's market. Are we in a balanced market?
Statistically, we are still in a buyer's market. If you look at the needle, it's pointed to buyers, and really you're looking at supply and you're looking at demand, and that's how the Cromford report breaks it down. So we're still statistically a buyer's market.
How are you affected by buyer and seller expectations? So if they see something, a story like this on Axios, and they say, "Oh, wait a second, 87%," but then you give us the Cromford numbers. And I'm glad you're here to tell us that, because their accessibility to those numbers they're not going to get them. So they're going to hear from us about this 87% number. Does it make it harder to find a buyer, to work with a seller, if they're thinking, you know what, from the buyer standpoint, well, I'm not paying that because that's ridiculous. Prices are coming down. Or does it make it hard with the seller who's thinking, this market's been fantastic for a long time. No way I'm taking that. Where's your dynamic there?
Yeah, it's right in the middle, right? And these are discussions we have all day. Now, part of why we may see that prices have stabilized a little bit and not dropped dramatically is because supply's come down. Why has supply come down? It's come down because a lot of people are canceling their listings or letting them expire and going, as sellers, if this is what the market is going to give me, I'm going to just hold. Right. So I talk a lot about the needs market versus the want market. If you want to make a move as a buyer, you're going to go, we'll see if rates come down, if prices drop. If you want to sell as a seller, but you don't need to, you're going to just pull your home if you're not getting what you want. And so that tells me that also indicates balance. Right? No, there's no fire sale on either side. Got to buy right now because prices are shooting up. Got to sell right now before prices drop. People are really weighing their decisions.
Trevor Halpern, the CEO of Halpern Residential at EXP. I'm glad you mentioned the supply and demand. One of the things that we've been told for a long time is we just don't have enough supply. There's not enough supply, not enough supply. We got to build. Are we starting to catch up?
You know, that's an interesting thing too. We're seeing new home builders probably slowing their roll a little bit. The cost to sell a new home right now is extraordinary, and it's eating into their margins. So new home builders, we look at them as kind of leading indicators of what's happening in the market. And if my phone is ringing with new home builder reps calling me going, "Hey, we're paying 3%. You got buyers for me? Oh yeah, your clients can come in. You don't need to be there. We'll just sign them up." That's happening, which tells me that new home builders are needing buyers right now. And if they're needing buyers and their margins are growing thin, they're probably going to slow the amount of homes that they are going to be building into the next year. They are forecasting a year, 2 years, 3 years out, looking at economic data to determine whether or not they're going to expend their investor funds.
Now that's really interesting to me that they're slowing things down. But it's not like they're stopping and pulling out, but they're slowing their roll and being a little more cautious.
They're being a little more cautious, right? When they're feeling themselves, if I walk in to a new home community with a client, they're like, "Yeah, we're going to pay you 0.5%, and we're not going to pay you, or don't even come. We're not even going to pay you." We know that they are living fat
As a
at that
realtor.
point. Yeah.
Okay.
Several years ago when the market was on fire, they wanted nothing to do with real estate agents. They wanted to rep both sides. They didn't want to pay me. Now my phone is ringing with new home sales reps that I've dealt with in the past.
Well, they need your expertise more now.
Well, they need my expertise. They need me to bring them buyers, and they are willing to pay me a full 3% compensation, which is tough to find in this marketplace right now as a buyer's rep.
Now that is really interesting. Trevor Halpern, CEO, Halpern Residential at EXP. Love having you in here, man. Love your insight. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.